Hello everyone, I'm Vi. I'm e-commerce marketing expert at Omnisend, and I'll be your host today. So when it comes to email marketing, I think that it can often be put in a box of, this is the less performing channel. This is the less performing channel in the sense that, it doesn't drive that many sales. Or I've even heard people tell me over like the 7 years in this industry, telling me, well, we already exhausted email marketing. There's not much there. I'm focusing on the ads and the funnels. The latest thing, of course, is AI. Like I'm focusing on implementing AI in my business. And as I said at the beginning, but the basics are not there. I often audited the same businesses that say these things, and you're like, well, you have one welcome email and you have 2 annual campaigns that you send out. What do you mean you exhausted email marketing? And of course, I'm exaggerating this because I really want you to get into the mindset of opportunity. Just think when it comes to your email automation, are you really using it to the maximum? Of course, possibilities are endless, but are you getting the basics right? Are you using it to get you even more sales? And think about this before we get into the nitty gritty, just to get in the mindset as well. At Omnisend, we found that automated emails generate 37%. So over a third of email-driven sales or representing only 2% of total sends. So I'll just say that again. Automated emails generate 37% of email-driven sales while representing only 2% of total sends. So automations to me, in principle, is like you set it and forget it. Of course, you come back to it, you tweak it, but it's just such a great way for you to get the basics right, make sure the sales are coming in, and then you focus on the other things as well. So to help with that, we have Ruta, who is our senior customer success manager. And she's been with Omnisend for over 3 years now. And what I'm really excited about today is that you guys will get to experience what it's like to have your own personal customer success manager walking you through every step and giving you the best tips, because Ruta has seen it all and she definitely knows what works, what doesn't, and she will save you lots of time and we'll also be here to answer your questions. So Ruta, would you like to say hello?
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. And as Vi just mentioned, I'm really excited to share all the knowledge that I've gathered from working with different clients from different industries, different countries, and just all the examples I've seen, all the tips and tricks that worked for them. And hopefully, you're going to get some value out of that as well.
Fantastic. Just a couple of things before we begin. So this session is being recorded and you will receive the recording in a couple of days. And also, if you have any questions at any point, at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A tab. So drop your questions in there so we can see them, they don't get lost. And we will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So again, I'm very, very excited about this. Pay attention. And if you miss anything, you will receive the slides, you will receive all the materials that we're going to share. So just listen. I'm sure you'll find something valuable. And Ruta, the stage is yours.
Great. Thank you for the great introduction. And to take this over, I'm going to share my screen now and continue the conversation. So the agenda for today, as Vi just really brilliantly explained, we're going to cover some basics. Not to say that those basics are just for only the beginners who have never experienced marketing automation in their lives. These basics are also for the people that have perhaps not exhausted some of the core things you should have in your marketing automation overall. From my own experience as well, I have seen, some customers who feel like they need to create something unique, really special, create a totally new workflow, something to offer to their customers, when sometimes you really don't need to invent the wheel and you kind of have to first see if you've covered all the essentials when it comes to email marketing and marketing automation. So I'm going to make sure that you don't miss any of those essentials today and go through those one by one. And I would say if you definitely go through all of these and implement them in your own store, in your own Omnisend account, I would say you already would be so much far ahead of your competition. Just again, from my own experience, looking how other brands work. So yeah, hopefully this is going to be very, very valuable today, and that after this session, not only you'll be familiar with what the marketing automation basics are, but you will know how to use them to promote your products. And not only that, but when to nurture your customers that have perhaps just made their first purchase. And I hope you'll also have this quite common worry addressed that a lot of customers have and a lot of merchants have, that they're afraid if they use campaigns, email campaigns, and also use email in automation, and they expand that kind of strategy there, they will end up spamming their customers, sending too much, sending maybe content that is not relevant to them, and so on. So I'll show you some strategies for how you can make sure that you don't do that and actually just send personalized content at the right time when the customers need it. So yeah, and finally, yeah, I'll be sharing a lot of examples of how real customers use these strategies in their own lives, and hopefully you'll get some value from that, and just learn how to use the features that are given to you with Omnisend, and make the most out of them. So to cover some of the basics, to go from the very beginning, what does marketing automation consist of? There's three main items that you can have in those in an automation. Those three items are a trigger, messages that you send, and an action that you would like to also perform inside the workflow. This is the general automation setup, and usually the structure of how you use those three main elements is you would have the trigger at the top, you would perform some sort of an action. Afterwards, you would send a message. You don't stop there, you perform another action, and then you send a second message, and you can keep going if you would like. The main structure is there, but again, to skip all the theory, I would just want to share this bonus tip that was actually going to be pretty persistent throughout the presentation today. In some cases, it's really useful to know that theory and how marketing automation works, so you can kind of get into the nitty-gritty of things and create your own workflows. But if you feel like you don't have time for this today, you perhaps are missing some workflows that you would like to have as soon as possible. Something that is going to be very, very helpful for you is use the long list of automation templates that are already pre-built for you and available in the automation library within Omnisend. So this is a quick video of where you can find so many different categories of examples, and I would just encourage you to explore that. Not only in those templates will you have the structure of the workflows, you will have the messages already pre-built, pre-written, pre-designed for you even, and with just a few tweaks, you will be able to, in a matter of a few minutes, launch your first, third, fifth workflow, and so on and so on. So don't forget to definitely do that. But if you would like to still understand how you can use those automation workflows to your own needs, maybe create some custom ones as well. So as I mentioned, those three elements that consist of automations. The first one is the trigger. So that is the item that starts an automation workflow, the condition that defines what kind of customer even or contact even enters that workflow in the first place. A very common example can be that a contact that you have in your database has just added a product to their cart. What you can do with that, once you know that they have added a product to their cart, you can target them based on that and send them reminders about the cart that they still have on your website, especially if they have not ended up making a purchase afterwards. So that's why on the right-hand side here, I have added an example of how a trigger, again, works very closely with exit conditions as well. If a customer has added a product to their cart, but they have not placed an order, and they even haven't started a checkout, they were really just stuck in that cart stage, you can really target those customers at that specific stage of the customer journey and send targeted messages to them. So this is basically the idea of what a trigger is and how it works. What you do with customers that meet the trigger criteria, you send them specific messages. And a lot of the times, probably the most common one is to send an email. Don't forget that Omnisend also offers you two other channels, which is SMS and push. You, of course, get some campaigns when it comes to SMS and push. Using them in automation is even better. So really make sure you make use of that great benefit. And here I just added a couple of examples of what great messages look like in terms of SMS and push. And finally, some actions that you can perform to make the workflow work better for you are, for example, delays. So you don't, let's say if someone abandons a cart, right? You don't want to send them an email right away. You might want to give them some time to actually decide if they want to go ahead and make that purchase or not, maybe 30 to 60 minutes, and then send the first message after that specific delay. You can tag contacts, so you can kind of identify who is in that abandoned cart workflow at the moment and group them together in a segment. You can have different splits. So it doesn't mean that if you have like a single trigger for your workflow, that every customer has to go through that single path and receive all the messages that you added there. You can split them as much as you want based on the languages that they speak, based on the countries that they're at, based on even some conditions like how big their cart value is, and send them personalized messages in that way. And of course, you can A/B test any path you have in the workflow, any message that you send, to make sure you're really optimizing those and sending the best messages that you can at the right time. So these are the basics, very quick overview of how just the marketing automation workflow works. And then the next important question is, of course, so what kinds of those workflows can you actually have? I personally like splitting them into two main categories. The first one is the workflows that you use before someone makes a purchase. And the way you use those is the reason you use those is if of course, to make sure that they go to the next stage and they actually end up making a purchase, those customers. If they were perhaps close to that final stage to making a purchase, but they ended up not doing that, you can utilize automation workflows to bring them back to the funnel and make sure that they succeed the second time. And you can actually target the reasons why customers are still in that stage and not in the after the purchase stage, right? Address any worries or doubts they may have about making that first purchase, and really target, focus your messages based on those worries that they may have. And the second category is, of course, so what happens when a customer makes that first purchase? Not only should you continue sending the same abandoned cart messages, the same encouragements to make that purchase again and again, you should not forget to nurture those relationships and kind of really appreciate that trust that the customer has given you with their first, maybe a second purchase even, and thank them, give them some time to give them some additional value points that they may get after the purchase. So I will share more examples on that later on. And you can also, sometime after, encourage repeat purchases if they enjoyed the first one, and make sure you have relevant upsell and cross-sell strategies so you kind of increase that purchase value. So we've covered the basics and the categorization of different workflows. To give you more examples that you can use on your day-to-day, let's start with the first category. So before the purchase, obviously the main goal, if someone has not purchased before, is to make sure that they end up doing that. And you'll probably sending a lot of messages that are saying the reasons why they should do that, how they can do that, and how you can help them make sure that they end up making that purchase. And the most obvious in the first one that most of your subscribers are probably receiving is the welcome series. So these are the messages that you send to customers that have perhaps just completed a sign-up form, like a pop-up form on your website. They entered their email address and they started receiving your emails for the first time. Here I added a few examples of what types of messages some of my customers are sending. And I kind of added them in a sequence that I personally really like and I've seen works well for my customers. So it's okay to have the first message be very, very simple. Usually customers who have like pop-up forms on their site, they offer some sort of a value for customers for giving them their email address, so like a 10% off or something off their first purchase. And usually the first email is just as that. It's very straight to the point, very simple. Thank you for signing up. Here's your 10% off, and here's where you can go ahead and make your first purchase. And a lot of people will just end up doing that. As you can see, at least in this customer's example, they have rate open and click rates and as well sales. However, some customers will not end up doing that, and they may need more encouragement to purchase. And that's why in the second example, I've added some examples of what additional information you could send with a second message. Here, I really like the example of a customer who's basically sending a quick Q&A with, I think it was the founder of the store, where the founder would address the main questions that the customers might have about the products, about the brand story, about the quality of the products, about specific, even small conditions like what about the shipping, what about the delivery fees and times and so on and so on. So any sort of things you might identify that the customers have doubts and worries about, make sure you add them in the second email and make sure it's easy to read and grasp. So either use like this customer Q&A kind of section or just have some bullet points, just main selling points that you have for your products in your store, and give some reason for those customers to not be worried anymore about making that first purchase. And the third email, I've seen customers who may forget to just send a quick reminder of the information you send in the first email. So the main reason why you send the first email is to give that 10% or so off their first purchase. Make sure you remind them about that they still have that opportunity. And make sure you perhaps even add some fear of missing out to those customers that have not reacted after reading the first two emails, and remind them that their discount code expires soon, as in this case, it expires in 24 hours. So yeah, try to really identify why those customers have not converted after the first email. Maybe they need some additional information about your store, about your products, why they should trust you in the first place. Or maybe they just needed some time and additional reminders to make that final choice. So remind them about the discount, where they can reach out to your team for any help, and so on and so on. Now, with every single workflow that I'm going to be sharing here, I'll be happy to share quick bonus pro tips for each of those. So for the welcome series, the thing that I've seen work really, really great is the SMS channel. So again, not only sending email messages, but also SMS inside the welcome automation. SMS, again, works great in terms of when you send campaigns and so on. It works even better as with email in automation. It's much more targeted. You're sending those precious, using those precious SMS credits that you may have in your account for messages that are for contacts that are, have a very clear shopping intent at the right moment. And as you can see in this customer's example, what I actually really liked about this example is just the way how they added the best selling point that they have in such a short message. So, welcome to our store. Protect your devices with style and durability. I need something to protect my phone with that will still make it look pretty, but at the same time make my phone durable. And then adding that third selling point, which is just a quick discount code to make that first purchase easier. So really loved this example. And as you can see, even though this wasn't like the biggest channel for this customer, they only sent like over 300 messages. You can see the click rate was crazy great, and they generated quite a few sales compared to just the amount of messages that they sent. So of course, if you grow this channel even further, you can expect even better results. But yeah, just wanted to show you that conversion for SMS and automation is definitely something not to miss. And the second pro tip for the welcome series that I would give to you is, again, so the welcome series is the first impression that you're giving to your customers. It's the first probably email that you're sending to them. You want to make sure, first of all, you don't overwhelm them with too much going on their first day. If they're in the welcomes, if they've just subscribed, if they're in the welcome series at the moment, most likely they're receiving at least one email per day until they exit that flow. Make sure you don't send additional emails, like an email campaign that you would send regularly to your entire database. So you can create this segment that I've added in the example here. Very simple, just one filter. If they have received at least one message that is in the welcome series in the last one day, use the segment to skip them from your campaigns for now, not only to not to overwhelm them, but also to make sure that they really focus on the messages that you carefully crafted to give them a good warm welcome, and make sure that you include all the information. You let them focus on the information that is going to help them make the first purchase, rather than general information you would send to the rest of the database. So this would be my second pro tip for the welcome series. Now that hopefully you've covered the welcome flows, I would like us to move on to the abandonment ones. And before we jump into that, I just wanted to give this quick layout of usually just how the customer journey works for marketing automation. So the thing that we've just covered is the step where a customer subscribes to receive your marketing communication, right? The second step that is usually missed, everyone knows abandoned cart, right? Everyone probably has heard of abandoned cart automation. But the step that is before that and is often overlooked and missed is customers that have not maybe added anything to their carts yet, but are still looking at some places in your website. They're looking at specific products on your store, but they haven't ended up adding anything to their cart yet. So this is an important step that we will get back to in a second. And then, of course, at the next step, they add a product to their cart. Then they start their checkout process, and then hopefully, at the end of the day, they end up placing an order. So again, the second step after someone subscribes to receive your marketing communication is they hopefully are going to end up on your website and look at some products, specific product pages on your store. So a forgotten gem that a lot of brands miss out on is the product abandonment flow. Quick example here is, again, something from our automation library. Without overthinking too much, you can just go ahead and use that. It already has all the triggers, all the exit conditions, everything you need to get you started, even the email that you only can edit just a little bit and let it go live. But just wanted to really put emphasis to this, that this is, although it's a less popular workflow, it does not mean it's a less effective one. It generates about the same amount of revenue as the abandoned checkout workflow that we're going to talk in just a minute as well. A lot of customers perhaps miss this workflow because they think abandoned cart is enough. They don't want to send too many emails to the same customers at the same time. Usually that does not happen, luckily, because again, if you just use the templates that we have in the automation workflow template library, the correct exit conditions will already be added to the product abandonment flow, to the cart abandonment flow, checkout abandonment flow, and so on and so on. And this is basically the logics that are used for making sure that none of these steps actually overlap. And no matter what stage of the customer journey the customer is at, they'll receive the correct single message that they need, whether that is the product abandonment flow, whether that is the abandoned cart, or any other step that they're in. They will receive the message that is tailored to them. So yeah, product abandonment definitely is something not to be overlooked. And the pro tip that I would give to you, besides using the template that we have to get you started, is to make sure you take advantage of personalization. So a product abandonment flow doesn't have to be too simple. It can actually be very tailored to what the customer is actually looking at on your site right now. So if they have just looked at a specific product, you can include that product title, picture, not only inside the email, but even in the subject line, just to make sure that that email gets their attention in the first place. And here's an example of how a customer did exactly that. The customer has just looked at a product. For some reason, for an hour or so, they ended up not doing anything with that. So the customer decided to send a quick email saying, great news, the product that you've just looked at on our store is now on sale. So what else can you want besides going and making use of that? And the second quick tip I would give about the product abandonment flow is to, again, I mentioned the SMS channel and the welcome flow. I would like to put emphasis on the push channel and the product abandonment flow, because so your customer is at the moment and somewhere on your website, they have looked at specific products, but something happened and they ended up not even adding them to their cart, let alone purchasing those items. What you can do with the push channel, with push notification, you can, if they were distracted and they ended up leaving your website, going to YouTube and watching something more entertaining, maybe, you can bring them back to your website and let them know that, hey, you just looked at this product. Don't forget that you wanted this product and go back and maybe give it another look. So make sure that, you kind of bring them back to the browsing session that they just had on your store. Yeah, and then definitely something that is very common for e-commerce merchants is the abandoned cart flow. So definitely something not to be missed as well. The exit conditions that it will have, if you have the templates, if you use the templates in our template library, this will be taken care of for you. But it will be just a started checkout and placed order exit conditions. And the pro tip I would get for this workflow, first of all, would be this is a very, very important workflow for sure. Most brands who use marketing automation, they see most of their revenue coming from the abandoned cart, the welcome flow, and the rest of the abandonment serious workflows. So it's definitely something to invest time in crafting a little bit more detailed. In this case, I would suggest having a split inside the abandoned cart flow based on the cart value that the customer has just abandoned. In this case, we have an example of a customer who decided to give additional value, remind the customers of the additional value that they get because they have abandoned a large cart. So if customers that have a cart total of less than 59, they would just send a reminder that, hey, you can add additional products to your cart and you will get free shipping because of that. Or if your customers already get the free shipping, maybe they did not know that they're eligible for it already, you can send a reminder with that. So I think it's also a great example of just how marketing automation workflow can work well, even if you don't just blast discount codes with every single message. Sometimes you can just send a reminder of the value that the customer is already getting, and you may assume that they know about it, but they don't necessarily do. So just remind them of the free shipping that they already have, and to make sure that they, especially the high value carts that have been abandoned, end up becoming purchases. And yeah, the final flow of the abandonment series is the abandoned checkout. And it is a separate workflow that you can have besides the abandoned cart. I would say I've seen a lot of customers just use a single abandoned cart flow and they abandon the abandoned checkout flow in a sense. I would say it's best not to do that, and to kind of, just because you have the ability to have two separate flows for whenever someone abandons a cart and abandons a checkout, make sure you have actually different strategies for those two. And identify the reasons, the different reasons that they could be when someone abandons a cart, which is, okay, perhaps they're still exploring some products, they're looking for something else to add, maybe they're looking for different items in different stores and comparing those products and so on. But for abandoned checkout flows, the reasons why someone has not ended up purchasing where they were so close to the point where they were, entering their credit card details, their shipping address, and so on, can be a little bit different. They probably have already decided on the products that they want to buy, but something else led them to the decision to not end up making that purchase, which can be maybe they were distracted and you just need an additional reminder, or maybe they were frustrated with the fact that they couldn't add their credit card details and they decided to do that later, or maybe they were dissatisfied with the fact that they need to pay for shipping and so on and so on. So try to identify the reasons why customers might be so close to the purchase but end up not making that purchase in the end. And yeah, now that we've covered all the abandonment series, just to finalize, some general pro tips that I would like to give to you all would be to, with all the information that you have, how you can craft the perfect automation workflow, how you can craft the perfect message in each of them. I would say it's always a good idea to take a step back and don't overthink too much. I've seen that way too many times where customers would spend month to even 3 months crafting some automation workflows where, again, I'm going to be repeating myself, but if you use the templates that we already have, most of the work will be done for you. That doesn't mean that has to be the final work that will be done for you, but I would say it's still much better to have the first version that you can have live today or tomorrow. See how that works, and with time, keep improving that workflow that you already have so that it's already running, it's already generating sales for you. And if you get more ideas for how you can improve that workflow, you can always switch it up in the future. Done is better than perfect is something that is definitely relevant in this case. Yeah, something that I've just explained. Let them earn your revenue, test the workflows, and improve them as you go. And one final tip that is going to be useful for any single automation workflow that you work on is to set up your brand assets that you have, if you haven't done that already. So in the store settings that you have on your Omnisend account, if you add your brand assets like colors, fonts, social media links, and so on, all of these will be automatically transferred to every single automation workflow template that you're going to be using in the future. So a huge time saver for you if you want to enable a quick workflow as soon as possible, but also just to save you time whenever you're working on those. And here we cover the first category of the very important pre-purchase automation workflows that I wanted to share with you today. But we should not forget the steps that go afterwards. And I think in my experience, I usually see there's two ways customers approach this. So some of those customers may want to switch their messages a little bit after someone just made a purchase and perhaps, show them how thankful they are for that purchase. I've added a joke here that, it was never about the money. We really just wanted to, give you this amazing product that we're making and hope you really enjoy it. So thank you for trusting us with that. And also, I've seen customers completely skip that and, just go ahead right away with cross-sell, upsell, how to make sure that the customer purchases again and again and again right away. So definitely a good strategy would be to combine those two together. In my personal opinion, I definitely see, and just what's working well for some of my customers is maybe take a step back when someone just makes a purchase right away, and instead of pushing another purchase as soon as possible, try to again show them gratitude for the fact that they've trusted you and they ended up making that purchase. On the same date, of course, not only send like an order confirmation email, but make sure you send a sincere thank you message. I've seen customers send emails crafted from a message from the founder again, or so on and so on. And maybe a few days later, don't forget to follow up with the customer and ask whether they have actually liked that product that they've just received. Use this as an opportunity to receive some feedback, not only to improve, but also just to show that you actually care. Not about the fact that they've just spent money on their store, but also that you care that they actually like what they've just purchased. And some other thing that is also very, very often overlooked is a lot of customers, they don't send tips for how you can actually use the product that you've just purchased. Again, this might not work for every single store, every single industry, and so on, but for a lot of those, I think there's some advice you can give to your customers for how to make sure that they get the most value from the product they've just purchased. If they've just purchased, I don't know, really high quality sweater or something, how to wash it, what kind of tips you could do for making sure that that sweater lasts as long as possible, and so on. So really showing that you actually care, that this customer sees as much value as possible from the item that they just purchased. And here I added an example of one of my customers, how the customer that that has just purchased a mattress can make sure that they have the best sleep possible with that mattress, and hopefully, once they're done with that, they come back again, or maybe recommend the same mattress to a friend. And of course, that does not mean that you should not focus on opportunities to cross sell. After some time, I think after you show some gratitude and show some tips for customers about the products that they've just purchased, make sure you definitely identify some items that could complement the item that they've just purchased, and set up a cross-sell automation. Again, maybe test out a few different delays, or whenever they have had the time to actually try out the first product, would be a good time to try suggesting a separate one, a different one that kind of goes well with the first product that they've just purchased. If you don't want to, create crazy, amazing strategies for what kind of products go well together, a bonus tip for you would be to use the product recommender that is already available for you inside the email builder. And it's going to suggest the best combinations of products that are there for you. So if you have this, if you drag and drop this product recommender field, you will be able to select personalized recommendations, similar to someone's past purchases, and the best possible combination will be suggested to that specific contact for you. And of course, if you would like to be more detailed, there's always a possibility to do that. So in this case, one of my customers who sells beach products, they really wanted to be more specific in terms of how they cross-sell. So in this case, whoever ordered a product that is from the category of bikinis, ladies bikinis, they wanted to make sure they suggest something that goes really well with that initial product, and that is the ladies overswims. So again, great example of how you can not only make sure that you cross-sell, but even suggest some items to your customers that they will probably find value in if they purchase together. Something that is overlooked quite often as well when it comes to the post-purchase journey is a replenishment reminder flow. So instead of just cross-selling different products, if the customer has liked the initial product that they've just purchased, and if that product, is a product that can be replenished. So again, a very simple example would be like a shampoo or conditioner and so on. Remind those customers that if they like that product, they can come back and get that product again. So identify what will be the ideal window for when ideally they will have almost used the entire bottle of that shampoo, and remind them that they may be running low, and you're here to help them make sure that they don't run out before that time comes. And a pro tip for this workflow from my side would be, if you have perhaps overlooked this setting that we have in the automation workflows, it's called trigger retrospectively. What it means is that for this replenishment reminder workflow, you might probably not going to send it right away after someone just purchases. It may be 30 days, maybe 60 days, maybe half a year after someone makes a purchase. If you've just enabled this workflow, it may take a long time for you to actually start getting those customers inside the workflow. If you have this setting enabled, this trigger retrospectively trigger enabled, you will make sure that anyone who has, let's say if your delay is 30 days, so anyone that has purchased in the last 30 days, they will enter this workflow and start receiving emails as soon as possible, or without you, waiting for that 30-day delay to pass for everyone from that moment on. So this is definitely a very, very useful trigger for this workflow and any post-purchase workflows, I would say, as well. And of course, the final step I would recommend to definitely have in your post-purchase marketing automation journey is some sort of a customer reactivation flow. So identify customers that have not ended up purchasing again, did not react to your cross-sell or upsell workflows, did not react to your replenishment reminder workflows as well. And before you completely lose those customers, so again, the window may be different for depending on the type of products that you sell, but customers that have not returned to your store in 30 to 120 days or so, send a reminder to them. So these are going to be customers that are not going to be the most active ones, obviously. So you can use the template again that we have, the customer reactivation automation template, and make sure that you have definitely some special offer in this case for customers that have not returned to your website in a long time. If you are willing to use a discount code, make sure you use that for this case specifically. Yeah, make them an offer that they can refuse. Otherwise, you might never see them again. So yeah, I really like this cute little message that this customer had. Hey, old friend, we've missed you, and we have a gift for you. Even I wonder what that gift is. So I think it's a great example of how you can use that last kind of resort. Maybe give a little discount code, maybe a little gift to customers that decide to come back to your store. And here we've covered the basics of the marketing automation workflows. The ones that go before someone makes that first purchase and the ones that go after someone makes that first, maybe a third, fifth purchase even. And definitely there's some questions you may have. I will first of all address the common questions that I personally probably get at least once a month, if not much more often. So the first one is something I've already touched a bit up in the previous slides. You will see a lot of automation workflows, they use discount codes, and customers may ask, is it necessary absolutely that I use a discount code with every single email in that marketing automation workflow? And the answer is absolutely not. Some brands that I work with, they don't use discount codes at all. Maybe they have like a single sale per year, exclusive only to their subscribers. But the rest of the year, all of their workflows are completely no discount, just constant reminders about the value points that you already are giving to your customers. So yeah, for example, in the welcome automation, just remind them of the reasons why the customer should trust your products, why your products are the best, why they're so good quality, what your other customers, existing customers are saying about your products, any kind of social proof you may have will already help you so much instead of just focusing on a single discount. And in the cart amendment, offer a discount, let's say, if you don't want to blast that discount to everyone who is in the cart abandonment workflow, you can make sure you focus only on those that have high value carts only. So those carts that you definitely want to make sure you don't lose, maybe send a discount to those customers exclusively. Another common question I receive is, how can I measure my performance? What open or click rate should I expect for each automation? It will depend on so many factors, the type of industry you're in, the type of products you send, and so on and so on. But if you want some benchmark, I've included this slide here. This is actually from one of the newest reports that we published on our omnisend.com website reports section there. So here's a quick breakdown. What are the average open rates, click rates, conversion rates, depending on what type of workflow it is. So we can kind of start with that. But at the end of the day, my advice is always to compare yourself to yourself yesterday. And rather than just following, what is the every marketer's average metric, use your own metric. If your click rates were 1.5% today, how can I make sure that ends up being 2% in a month or so? And yeah, that would be much more valuable than, I think, chasing these numbers. But again, this is also a great starting point if you've just starting out. Another common question that I receive is just a fear that a lot of customers have. I don't want to work too much on automation workflows. I already send campaigns and I don't want to make sure I upset my customers with too many emails. And that is a perfectly valid point. I would say to avoid this, what the strategy I really like is to prioritize actually not email campaigns, but automation workflows instead. So automation workflows again are sent on a email by email basis, right? They're sent at a time when a customer does a specific action in your store. They have subscribed to you through a pop-up. They have abandoned a cart. They have looked at a specific product. They have just made a purchase. And you want to send a message tailored to that specific item so it kind of feels natural to them rather than just blasting email campaigns on a daily or weekly basis. So if you want to make sure you don't kind of overwhelm their customers with both, I would say it would be best to always prioritize the automation workflow emails that you send. So in this case, it would be even a great example to exclude every single customer that has received some automation workflow email in the last 1 day. So exclude those customers from your campaigns and have like kind of just save this segment that you have and use it on a daily basis when you send campaigns. So you would skip the segment completely from those campaigns to let them focus on the abandoned cart workflows, the post-purchase workflows, and so on and so on. And I think this is the final common question that we have. So how often should I review and update my automation workflows? I'm really glad this is a common question because you definitely should, in the first place, review and update your workflows. If you manage to do that every 3 to 6 months, I think that would be ideal. Again, some things you should look out for is to make sure not only you stick to something that looks to be working well, make sure you run some A/B tests from time to time to optimize those workflows to make sure you're getting better and better results, and just monitoring general performance, that it's not going down, updating the content if you've had like some new products added, some new designs, check if all links are working properly and so on, that all images have links and so on and so on. All these things are definitely something to be reviewed at least once every quarter or half a year. And that is it with the common questions. And I think we still have some time for a Q&A question, right, Vi?
Yeah, thank you so much. I love how methodical it was. So for everyone wondering, you will receive the slides in the follow-up email with the recording. So you can literally schedule an hour. I promise you, schedule an hour and just go through every step that Ruta just spoke about. And then you'll see, okay, I have that. That's good. Maybe check the metrics that we already shared as well. Then if you find one, okay, I don't have this way, then again, as Ruta mentioned again and again, and I'll mention it again, they have all the automation templates. And that means they're done, they're prepared using the best practices. So it's not us guessing or saying, oh, it would be nice. Like over the years, we have so much experience in email marketing. You're using the best practices, so everything's done for you. Just trust us. Go into your automations just for the sake of fun. Like nothing's gonna go live without you knowing. So, and just try, see what's available. Kind of look at it. And again, as Ruta mentioned, all the exit conditions are there. Like email templates are there. All you need to do is just add your tone of voice, add your messaging. And even that is not necessary because everything is pre-made for you. So yeah, my challenge for you guys is, after this webinar, just schedule an hour and maybe next week once you have the slides, and then you'll be able to go through everything that we just spoke about. And again, just don't miss out on all the sales. And something that really stood out to me at the beginning, and I loved that example, and it's very simple when Ruta said, think about before and after purchases. So that flow when you have two buckets and understanding, and I think it's very intuitive for us as well. When you have, okay, in that bucket, I have people before they purchase. And at every step, they have different reasons why they're not purchasing, why they're not getting that. So you wouldn't talk to them in the same way. You have those different buckets. So you can find different, okay, if they're just considering, maybe they just need a different push than people who are like, they're committed almost, and you find the pain point. Why? So that bucket is very simple, but if you look at your flows and you're like, oh, something's not working, then maybe just literally drawing out 2 buckets and seeing, okay, this is working, this is not working. How would I approach that customer in person? And maybe adjust it in that way as well. And another thing that I really liked about the abandoned product whole series is, if you're all screen hopping, and like the abandoned product flow, especially, it resonates to me because I have like at a moment probably like 20 tabs open on my phone alone where I'm like, oh, a new spring dress or a pair of summer shoes. I have those things open and I'll tell myself I'll get to that, but those just get away. So if you as a merchant, you're actually not spamming people, you're like, hey, you were thinking about this product. And I'll tell you that, like, we all are like jumping from our laptops to our phones to our TVs to like other screens. Like, it's actually helpful because if your brand got the person's attention, like you are like, there's something there. And if again, if they didn't like what they saw, then it's fine. They're not gonna open your message, but at least like you're trying and you're helping. And like another thing in that, and I'll just finish this thought because I'm really excited about what you just said, is yeah, you just kind of like meeting people where they're at, and we're so used to, like, we're so adapted, unfortunately, to being constantly bombarded with ads and different marketing things that I think we're all overthinking how much attention our customers are paying or potential customers are paying to us. So even if we send them an email, that's why we always say, focus on the subject line, because we're just scanning that and we're just, no one's like reading every single word that you have out there. And it's just in those overthinking moments that you just said, drafting the perfect welcome email or abandoned cart email. I think about the emails that I get sometimes. They have spelling mistakes or like a link is not working. But if I'm like really interested in the brand, it's not so much of a hurdle for me. People queue for like overnight to get into Apple stores or like to get other things. So if you got someone's attention, you will, it's fine. If you made a mistake, and done is better than perfect. Again, so this like really, really resonated to me when you were talking. I was like, yes, yes, you're like overlooking these opportunities. Awesome. And just I'll make a little plug in because you touched upon a couple of topics that we're gonna cover in our upcoming webinars. So on Thursday, we're gonna have a webinar or omni-channel strategy where we're gonna cover how to combine your emails, SMS, and push notifications. And in this webinar, I'm really excited because we're going into detail about push notifications. And that is something, again, often overlooked, but yet it's so powerful because we all look at our notifications that we get. So don't miss out on that one. The link is in the chat. And we also linked our previous webinar on SMS, where we walk through literally, again, step by step, how to send your first SMS. So I'm looking at the time, and because we literally covered all the things that we need to know, I'll just ask one on the testing side of things, because you've got to have so many flows. And let's look at it from 2 perspectives. One is, I just started as a business, and sure, I'll get all the templates that Omnisend has. But how do I plan testing? Because I'm like, now I have 6 new flows, and how do I approach testing? Do I just pick one flow, test things there? Or would you say I can test a thing in each of the flows? Like, how do you approach in that sense?
Yeah, very great question. I have seen customers do both, and my opinion would be that you should only test a single small thing per workflow at a time. The reason is because, well, if you test, let's say you're testing a subject line, you're testing at the same time a delay in that specific abandoned cart or so workflow. You're also testing different content that you're sending in those 2 A and B paths. when you're done with the test, you're not going to be exactly sure. So what was the factor that determined the winner path? With that said, I would say focus on one thing at a time. If you want to optimize your subject line, test that. Once you're determined the best subject line, move on to perhaps the content or the delay inside the workflow, and go with that. So yeah, one thing at a time, so that you make sure you know what's the reason that the winner was decided in the A/B test.
And I would also add to that is, I personally would pick something that has the highest chances of bringing me in sales, so I can double down on it. So let's say we have welcome series, and I would test the subject lines. And if you see a pattern, especially like, okay, these kind of like maybe emojis are something that resonates to your audience, I would implement those tests into your other flows, because your audience doesn't really change that much. You're still talking to the same people. So if you know, okay, people who buy from welcome emails and series, they are the same people that probably are in my abandoned cart series. So I can use the same approach to the subject lines there as well. So that's from my practice as well, just doubling down on something that where you're certain it's already bringing you money. And then kind of like if you have time and resources, you can go into other testings as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say just don't forget the fact. So whatever, I've shared a lot of best practices that work with different clients, again, different industries, different customers that they target. But at the end of the day, you will be the person that knows your brand and your audience the best. And don't forget that fact. Whatever you test, some things that may work for you, maybe that don't work for others, and they may be contradicting even to some best practices, and that's fine. Um, an example I remember almost 3 years ago now from a customer. I know we were talking about what is the best time to send an email, what is the best time to send this workflow or this workflow, and we came up with the best sequence that there is for, I don't remember, it was abandoned cart or something. But then they ended up setting the time when that email was sent not to noon but midnight, I think, instead, and that ended up bringing such great results. I was shocked, the customer was shocked, but at the end of the day, that worked. Apparently, their audience was midnight scrollers, and they like purchasing at midnight. So, and that's fine. Through A/B testing, through different experiments, you will find what works for your audience best. So keep doing that.
Absolutely. I love this. Again, like, yes, it's best practices, but your audience, they have their specific quirks, and sometimes it will contradict. So, if it's making you sales and making you money, hello, that's your best practice now. So you can continue testing it, but that's proof of concept that that's who you're selling to. That's your audience. Yeah, I absolutely love this webinar, Rupa. Again, like, I love how structured it was. And again, for everyone, you will receive a recording of this. You will receive the slides, and open these, just go step by step. And if at any point you see, maybe you encounter a challenge, maybe you don't know if you're doing it right, have any questions, then you can contact our support team as well. They're there 24/7. You're here to help, and also check if your account has a customer success manager, because you might be missing out on really good help and an excellent person like Rupert who could help you out. So again, guys, thank you so much for being here today. Ruta, again, thank you for being and sharing all your knowledge.
Thank you for being here. You were you went for a great dialogue. I think you made some great points too, and hopefully the synergy that we had here was very valuable for everyone that was watching. That's all I hope for today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.